All right, we're live here. Welcome to the Being Black and IT podcast. We have a special guest tonight. I was going to initially do a podcast that I was just going to fly solo, but I got in contact with a telecom technician who was on the line right now. And if he could state his name, please.
Just call me Bub.
Bub, okay. Now, Bub, you've been working. What kind of work have you been doing in the last few years?
Recently, the union calls it advanced premise technician, but the name I was hired under was telecommunication technician, and been doing that for about over a month. But prior to that, just water delivery.
Okay.
For pretty popular water distribution company.
Okay. Now, for those that don't know about telecom, if you could, most people know, and people know my background too. I don't have to go into detail. But how did you get this job? I know I helped you get it, but how did you go about getting it after I kind of helped set it up?
Pretty much, applied online. They were hurting for people. The company is, going through a stage where they want everybody to get high-speed fiber.
Okay.
And fast internet in their home. So they really need all the people they can get.
Okay. And for those that don't know, this is a large company. They've rebranded themselves. They used to be called CenturyLink. Then they changed to Lumen. What do they call when you're driving around in the truck? What do they call it now?
They call it quantum fiber, but
Quantum fiber. Okay.
You'll see people in CenturyLink vehicles or T-shirts or whatnot, and it's all the same. There's no difference. Those are brand names.
Okay. 1 second. Somebody's responding. Give me a second. Okay, yeah, no, that was somebody asking about my other channel and stuff. Okay, so quantum fiber, and I knew the answer to that, but just so people from around the world that might tune into this podcast, they'll be able to kind of know, quantum fiber is CenturyLink. I just seen a truck when I was driving down the street. Being that, I'm around Ramsey County a lot, I do see these vans in different places, and I have been seeing CenturyLink vans all my life. They used to call it Quest. I think before that it was called was it US West, or I can't remember what telephone company, but it's all the same thing, just rebranded. How long was the interview when you applied? How soon did they contact you?
Probably about 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. And when I provided you with the information about what they were going to give, they mentioned something about bonuses and things of that nature. What was the bonus that they were talking about giving you, up front?
They mentioned it was a $2,000 sign-on bonus or something like that, but I think you have to stay for a little while to even get it.
About 6 months or so?
Probably about 6 months.
Okay. All right. And then what kind of training did they tell you that you were going to get and what you were going to need in order to do the job? Not what you're doing now, because they always tell you something different. Employers tend to lie. But what did they say up front when you were interviewing that the training, what would training would be?
3 months.
3 months. Okay. Did they say what the training would consist of?
No, they didn't. It was really vague. They didn't really have a procedure on what they were going to train for week to week. Basically, the experience was 1 week of pretty much looking at a screen, learning policies, and 2 weeks of supposed to be hands-on training. Um, didn't really go as expected. I didn't really get the training I thought I was going to get. The real training comes in when you're actually, out in the field experiencing. That's when you're really going to actually learn something.
Okay. Before I go get into the statistics of the telecom job outlook for 2024, I want to play a day in the life for Lumen quantum fiber technicians. I want to play that, and I want to see what your perspective is into what they're telling is true. So I'm going to play this real quick.
Internet.
Fair use, YouTube, fair use.
This point has become such a huge, important service for all customers. The biggest thing I'm hearing every single day in customers' homes is how important it is that they're connected from 9 to 5. After that, when their kids get home and they have to do homework, it's important that we have it at all times and when we want it.
We're connecting people to the internet via fiber optics. And me as a customer, because I got quantum fiber at home, I can tell you that it works great. Being able to get that great upload, because it's symmetrical speeds.
That's why I'm excited about the quantum fiber, because I feel like that's going to provide the speeds that we need for the customer. You're like the superhero. You're coming through for that customer.
Your first couple weeks, there's a lot of training, going over standard practices and safety. After
Is that true?
People are generally happy to see it because they've been having an issue. There are customers that didn't have internet for a whole entire week. Now I don't know how that to be possible, but how can I say this? You have to be really patient. When they mention speed, yeah, when you actually get it connected, is it fast? Supposedly. But the minute a line breaks or something doesn't authenticate or something is not programmed, then you start to have problems and delays.
Okay. Now, getting to this training, I want to rewind that part right here. I want to get into that real quick.
Going over standard practices and safety. Your first couple weeks, there's a lot of training, going over standard practices and safety. After that, you go through ride-along training with established technicians that have been doing this for years and years.
I'm going to be honest with you, I cannot handle like an...
Is that true?
The training, we did do ride-alongs, but it wasn't enough.
Okay.
1 week was basically watching the shadow, and the other week was you supposedly doing some of the work with the tech supporting you. That didn't happen. Depending on what tech you had, they would probably, rush through orders just to get it done, and you just kind of learn on the way. These people that you ride along with, they're not your mentors, they're not your trainers. They were kind of, ordered to, do whatever, job you had for the day. It wasn't like that, okay, well, I'm going to be teaching you. You just have to pay attention. They'll show you some tips because their boss say, hey, show them the ropes. But none of these people are getting paid for them mentoring or training you. And there was a lot of resentment with the guys that were, 15, 20 years plus, because we're new guys coming in, getting paid a certain rate, and not all the workers wanted to deal with the new guys, train them in. And the issue was, they got rid of a large group of people, and they hired on some new people that were hardly trained, and they wanted to throw them out in the field because they're trying to play catch up, getting everybody connected with fiber.
Okay, so it's safe to say that there was a lot of copper, and there still is a lot of copper that's currently installed in many of these businesses and residential areas.
Man, it's all evident. It's all over the place. Not everybody has fiber, and there are still techs that work with copper and know how to repair copper. But the future is going to fiber. But you still need those older techs that have been around, because they know the ropes of both worlds. So
did they ever mention to you, and we'll talk about the upward mobility in a moment here, and the rates and what you could look forward to, but did they ever say how much work they would have in terms of getting people over to fiber and what that looks like?
No, it's really vague. Originally I thought I was gonna actually be fully trained in, but when I found out that, you're gonna have a week of training here and two weeks of class training somewhere else, and then we're gonna throw you out. Well, how are you supposed to learn? And then if you don't have, you have to be really proactive and ask a lot of questions. If you don't know something, you just have to ask.
Okay. Now, what are your thoughts in terms of the onboarding? When it came on, was it a lot of politics about a bunch of, learning about people being nice to people and or was it more so from all technical? Do you feel like there was any time that was wasted that could have been used to focus more so on the job as opposed to the politics at work and what they wanted you to know about HR stuff and all that?
All that information, you're not really gonna know too much in the real world unless you get yourself hurt, or if you're not following some basic, safety protocols. But I would say, 99% of what I watched on a video did not help me in the real world when I was going out and doing installs or watching how the other workers did things. I didn't really learn anything until I was actually experiencing it. So the whole classroom experience, there wasn't any training with, certain applications that we needed to pretty much do our job. That there was no training like that at all. Even some, circumstances and other experiences, they didn't really, give us a heads up on how to do things. So your guide would be your laptop and looking everything up, but you don't want to be on a job looking at your laptop, looking up stuff for 20 minutes because it wasn't taught to you already. So they basically said, well, if you don't read it, it's your fault. Here's the laptop and confide in your coworkers. So we have a team of people you can call and get your answers. But there was a lot of things that should have been taught in class.
Okay, so they missed a couple opportunities to be able to train you guys a little better?
I wouldn't say miss. I would say they don't have they didn't have a really good training module, and they did it on purpose. If they really wanted to give people the proper information to go out into the field and be a decent worker, they could have did that. But I think it was more of rushing people to get out there just to get fiber installs done. How is it that in the past you had people training for 3 to 6 months before they even get out by themselves to, 2 to 3 weeks?
Okay.
Really, it's really, I'd say about honestly a week and a half. They'll have you, either shadowing or riding along with somebody.
Okay.
And you can only pick up so much by watching, and then you can only pick up so much by doing. You have to combine both. So, all these little videos about policies, and watching hours and hours and hours of videos, that's zilch. That does not prepare you for the real world and real experiences.
So this is a culture thing then. This is a company culture thing on how they handle the training, whereas the executives are not spending, they're not listening to the managers and the people that's on the ground that's actually doing the work. If they're focused more on getting less training and just throwing you out there.
No, it's a numbers game. We're invisible. We're the first. We're the face of the company. We're the first contact that the customer sees. But of course, the higher ups don't either know or don't understand or don't want to know. They just want the numbers. And the reality is, things take longer than what they say or what their motto is. I've spent multiple hours just with customer service trying to get things resolved. Just that, not any actually labor work, putting things together, and no hard labor.
Okay, now
So,
how much more money? Because I'm into the how much. How much more money were you making with this position that I hooked up as opposed to the last within a 1 month time frame?
I worked the last job for about a year and something, and then when I got involved with this one, it's $3 more per hour.
You said $3?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you would have stayed at the last one, you probably wouldn't have got any raise at all equivalent to what you're at now.
I probably would have got a couple more dollars more if I was like CDL Class B license. But I mean, delivering water around, having anywhere between 35 to 60 something stops a day. It gets to be kind of, hard on your back. And I mean, their guys have been working the same route for 15, 20 years. No breaks. Good luck.
Okay. Now, so would you say with this, there's a little bit more upward mobility?
That's yet to be seen.
In telecom in general, if you can learn what you can out of here, and you have fiber optic on your belt, have you seen the rates of fiber optic? What a fiber optic telecom technician could, once he gets his, maybe his Cisco or get some of his little credentials. Have you seen the rates that they could potentially make within a year or so? Not necessarily at this company.
I know that the broadband techs, they make sense similar to what my position is, but from what I've been hearing, just you know, for the positions that we're in now, it's kind of like it's really going downhill.
Okay, I'm seeing from Google, they're saying as of 2024, the average hourly pay for fiber optic in the U.S. is $27, with a range of 15 to 45 an hour. The 25% hour is 21 an hour. The 75% hour is 31.
Top pays is 32.
Okay.
You got to think how many years are you going to work this position to get at the 32?
Have you heard about the Fiber Optic Association?
No.
Okay. Did they mention anything to you about power limited license, and getting any kind of certifications there?
Yeah, from my coworkers said basically, there's some coworkers that have been there for a couple of years, and not a couple, but many years. And I asked them, I said, what can you do with it? What's the purpose of it? They really told me you really can't do shit.
Okay.
I'm like, well, can you take it somewhere and get a different job, or they?
So they didn't mention anything about Cisco, anything about network engineering?
You said what?
So they didn't mention anything about Cisco. I know you work primarily on layer 1, but did they mention anything about Cisco certifications and being able to work in a data center because you're dealing with fiber optic and cabling and telecom? They never mentioned any of that?
No. These workers have been climbing ladders for years. Some of these techs, they don't even know how to work some of these apps really well. If they've been out of the game or heard of something, they come back and the company has a new system, they're just going to be like, okay, well, where's the training for this?
Okay, so they didn't mention to y'all that the telecom industry is expected a 12% increase due to technological advancements, the rise of 5G, a growing demand for seamless connectivity. So 5G network engineers, there's a 20% projected increase. And IoT, Internet of Things, is a 15% growth in demand for IoT architecture, data analytics, and security. They didn't let you know any of that.
No.
Okay.
Because the people that I deal with in the building that I work, they're either cable, broadband, or fiber. I'm not meeting any people that work specifically and stay in the data center, okay, or tech guys. We're like ground workers. We're not IT at all.
Okay.
There's very little. We use the stuff that IT created, but the job I do is not an IT job at all. You're doing customer service. You're doing blue collar climbing ladders. You're hooking up devices, and you're calling people up to make sure it works.
Now I'm looking here from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Overall employment of telecom is projected to grow 6% from 2022 to 2032, faster than the average for all occupations. And about 31,500 openings for telecom are projected each year on the average over the decade. It says many of those openings are expected to result from the need to replace workers who transfer to different occupations or exit the labor force, such as to retire.
Because it beats down on your body. The people are tired of the hassle of work. It's a high turnover position. They don't want to stay. Whatever. I got a coworker that, he has a cloud certification. Do you think he's gonna stay climbing ladders and hooking up devices? No. He's gonna probably get an intern and at some point try to make 100K.
Okay.
In IT.
So
He's only doing it just so he can get his foot in the company, and hopefully he can wiggle his way into IT.
So now, with that being said, there's some transferable skills to this I'm seeing. You're dealing with telecom. Data center positions usually pay anywhere between $60,000 to $100,000 a year. You could probably get up to 100 if it's like Google or something like that. I know a woman that started working at Google, and I think she's in the data center now. So the median annual income for telecom was $62,000 in May 2023. And you're still, even though it's not quote unquote, they're saying it's not quote unquote IT. To do this, I remember at Century College, they used to say, well, you could get a telecom degree. Well, what you're doing, it doesn't require a degree, but they were selling that. They were saying that, but they need people now. But I remember at one point when I was taking some classes, they were over there trying to sell you on a telecom degree. They had Cisco, CCNA, some classes and things of that nature. So for you, how long did it take you? Walk us through your first couple weeks when you actually got on the site and what you learned from layer 1 to layer 3, if it applies.
So what I learned is technology doesn't really work as how they're painting it to be. Like they mentioned, it's fast, it's efficient, it's this and that. A lot of stuff needs firmware updates. As far as broadcasting Wi-Fi, that could be an issue. These things take time. So when you have a model of saying, well, we want this done in a specific time, and I've been overloaded with jobs from the jump, and it's like, how do you expect me to get done with this work? Why are you even assigning it to me in this fashion, knowing that I'm not going to be able to get all of it done within the shift?
So there's a lot of overtime. There's a lot of overtime.
That's mandatory.
Okay, so you could.
Overtime is mandatory.
So you can make time and a half. So what was the hiring rate they got you at?
27.
27. Okay, so but overtime, you could make good money with overtime, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, with all the delays, a good portion of it is not going to be you doing hard labor, because you're going to have to run into so many issues that will require you being on the phone.
Okay, so you can actually, if you have a long delay, you could kind of check around on your phone and stuff a little bit and kind of see what's out there, and you could actually take interviews if you had to.
No. There's no time.
Okay, so you're always waiting on somebody. So you'd have to do that at lunch. Like, you could take an interview if you needed to. What I'm trying to get people to see here is you could take some of this experience on paper, maybe get the power limited license, look into your Cisco CCST certification later on with your CCNA, and use that telecom experience to power you into like a data center or something that's transferable above to this. Because what I'm saying is you're making $27 an hour. You could do overtime. You with overtime you could rack $70K. That's what I'm getting at.
I mean, it's possible, but a lot of guys that start out there end up falling into IT because they don't want to be, out in the elements, and they want to be in a comfortable position that pays more. So yeah, I think it's possible.
That's my point. Is that you could transfer this and say, hey, I got. It may not be rocket science. I'm saying that you could take this as a transferable skill. Hey, I got fiber optic skill. I understand cabling. Yeah, I work on layer 1 primarily, most of the time. But you could say, well, hey, I'm familiar with some routers and switches. I've dealt with cabling. I wasn't a fiber optic installation tech, so I'm the one that handles your ISP. You have internet because of me. That's what I'm getting at. You could transfer some of these skills while you're there. You could work on some kind of search, and you could go somewhere else. How long does it take to learn the job?
A year.
Okay.
You want to be good at it? A year, 2 years. I'm talking about proficient. Year and a half, two years.
Okay, so if you're taking somebody that don't know anything,
they should be putting anybody out there unless they've been training all hands on for at least 3 to 6 months. But that's not what they're doing.
So you're learning as you go.
Yeah, if you don't learn one day, maybe you'll pick it up tomorrow. Maybe not. You just kind of learn as you go.
Do you have someone to call?
Well, like I said, you got a whole team. You got a whole team of people you can call, but it's the time. That's why they're giving overtime, because they're struggling to get their numbers up. So they said, well, okay, let's just throw them out there. If you do 1 or 2 jobs or whatever, at least we're getting some done. And then they put the pressure on the other coworkers to train in other new people, which is not what they're supposed to be doing. And then they don't pay them for their guidance and mentoring and AKA training.
But if you get the average, I'm saying if you get the average black man probably makes they said in Minnesota is like $32,000, but they said the annual average income of the average black man in Minnesota is about $40K. We have some of the worst disparity gaps between here, Wisconsin. I think Memphis, Tennessee was one of them, but we have been in the top 10 list for the last decade or more. If you're a young brother, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and you flipping a burger or you just working at the gas station or doing whatever, and you could come into this getting overtime, would you say that's worth them doing as opposed to just some little BS job?
Well, I mean, you can't compare. You're getting more money, but if you got kids and you need to be around your kids a lot, it's a problem. You may not get home. You may start at 7 something in the morning, and not get home till 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Daily.
But would you be able to? Are you better off at $70K or more, potential of $70K or more with overtime, as opposed to kind of just barely making it at Chipotle or something? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. You can't compare the two jobs because they're in two different economic brackets.
If you say okay,
you can't even compare. You can't say, well, maybe I should stick at a gas station. Why would you stick at a gas station when this one pays more?
Now, what about benefits? 401k, health?
Well, it's about the same benefits as other jobs.
Okay, walk me through it. When you get to work, walk me through a day in the life. So if I'm a young brother, I'm thinking about signing up for this. I'm tired of working at the Dollar Tree. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? You park your car. When you leave your car, what is a day in the life of a telecom technician for Quantum?
Okay, I'm gonna say this. If you're patient, you can do this job. If you don't have to be tech savvy. Do you have customer service skills? Can you talk to people with respect? Can you go into somebody's home and be professional?
Okay.
Do you have good listening skills? Troubleshooting, a little bit here and there. Um,
Okay.
can you work out in the cold? Because these guys do it all year long. You want to be climbing 30 feet in the air when it's cold outside, um, hanging up fiber cord. Fine, do the job.
How cold are we talking? Cold as hell?
Whatever it is. Like my other coworker told me, that one of them almost damn near got frostbite. No, one of them got frostbite. I'm not gonna get to that point. I'm not gonna be putting myself out there so cold to where I'm gonna be hurting myself.
So let me ask you this.
It's
In that case, because remember, I told you my experience. We ain't got to go into that detail, but I was looking at something a little different. They had a position there where you kind of just go to the sites, you design the implementation, kind of like a network engineer, so to say, more like a project manager a little bit, but you're indoors. Now you will go on from site to site from time to time, but you will be designing the telecom infrastructure for lines going into the data centers, things of that nature. There might be some opportunity to transfer positions or apply for other positions within the company, because sometimes they may not want to lose the employee. Is that something you would consider?
Of course. I mean, staying indoors and not potentially freezing. I mean, the season now it's warm, but what if there's, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches of snow out there? It's snowing. They had us out there in the rain.
Now,
It was raining. Nobody stopped. So, will you have to endure the elements? Yeah.
so you work with both residential and business, right?
Very little businesses so far. Mostly residential.
Okay. And your first, give me what your first couple weeks on your own was like.
Hit or miss. You constantly calling and communicating with us. Text. We have like we have a Teams group. We get about 50 texts. Communicating all the time. If I have a question, I just call. If I can't figure it out, I'll call. If all else fails and I can't get a hold of somebody, I'll leave and get another job.
Okay. So is there a quota?
There's only so much to do because they haven't really they train you enough to where if you ask enough questions and you're a bit proactive, you can get by. There was a guy that had previous experiences doing relatively the same work, but he'd been doing it for years. And there was something they gave him a job. He didn't even know what to do. He had to talk to another tech to figure it out. And he says, "Well, I was never trained for this in class." And it's like, okay, well, you're doing something that you're not being trained for, but you're training yourself now because you've been put in that position. I mean, well, what kind of training is that? It's almost like a quick crash course. Just run you through the motions, and then eventually, hopefully, you'll pick it up.
Okay. How many people would you say have left the position so far?
Since I got hired on, I haven't heard or seen about anybody that left. But from what I've been told, and this is the guys that have been there for a minute, people leave all the time. high turnovers. I'll just take his word for it. There's no reason to lie to me.
Okay. Trying to think of another couple questions that I was gonna ask as well. What is your outlook? How you said how long were you gonna stay again?
Not as long as these, older guys. I'm not really impressed with the training, and if the company has good training, then that's usually a good sign. It's a decent position. But I think they leave a lot of responsibility of the newer guys to ask questions, and the older guys to be open to to give their knowledge, so we can figure out and troubleshoot any issues and do the repairs and stuff. And I think they should just pay them for the time. If you're gonna put workers in a position to where they're in a training and mentoring state, they need to be compensated for it, and not just say, okay, well, you're going with him and show him the ropes. And it's like, well, you're not paid to show the ropes. I'm just here to do a job. Some of the workers even refuse. I don't want any trainees, and have somebody else do it. But the supervisors themselves, they don't train. They send you to the videos, and then you go to training class, and it wasn't realistic, because I learned the complete opposite actually in the real world, and what it really takes to do the job. So I say they kind of put me in an unprepared position. Either way, I'm gonna be learning everything through experience. So,
do they have a do you see a lot of brothers working there?
Here and there, yeah.
Here and there, okay.
Mostly Caucasian.
Okay. Now, how was how was working with the manager? How was that?
Well, the supervisor. One of the few things that I noticed that when my training first started, he would kind of, some of the responsibilities that he was supposed to do, he would push that on a new person to teach me to get onboarded. And I kind of noticed that, and I figured, that was kind of like a red flag as far as, okay, what type of job this is going to be. And they can't stress, talk to your peers. Well, a lot of my peers are new, and a lot of my peers are not. So when you say talk to your peers, who do you think I'm going to go to? You think I'm going to go to the dude that I was hired with, or you think I'm going to call up the guy that's been here 10, 15, 20 years and ask him questions? Because I can't be at a job forever. I gotta get it done as fast as I can. Average about getting done 2 jobs a day, 2-3 jobs a day, depending on what it is, whether it's an install or repair. Sometimes a repair could take you 3 or 4 hours. It depends what it is.
How long was the interview?
About 30 minutes, maybe less.
Okay, 30 minutes. Okay. What kind of questions did they ask?
Mostly customer service, nothing technical.
Okay, they did this. Yeah, when I took one of them interviews, they kind of did that with me too. The reason why I'm asking is I'm trying to get brothers, when they hear this, they get an idea. They kind of get an idea just in case they're like, okay, I'm feeling dead end, because the job market right now is super competitive. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. Tell me about what they told you about CrowdStrike so far about at work. Did they say that would impact work for you guys? CrowdStrike.
No, they didn't say anything.
Okay, so CrowdStrike didn't buy the Lumen.
I got a notification through just the chat, but as far as calling up customer service, for me, it didn't affect me too much because
So
I was used to waiting on phone for, you know, support every other day. That's normal, and I don't think that's something that's gonna be leave or get better. It's just you might have to be waiting on the phone 20, 30 minutes sometimes. That's a reality.
okay,
So if you think you're just gonna come in and just knock a job out super quick, no, I don't think so.
so you'll be sitting in the person's house, or you'll be sitting in your truck talking to customer service.
Me, when I'm trying to get something authenticated or get something to broadcast, I'm not in my car. I am right in front of the device that's already mounted or whatnot, watching to see what it does.
Okay.
Customers, they're really not gonna, be over your shoulder too much. Some folks are curious. If some people like to watch, I don't care. They're getting set up. So.
Okay. Have you ever had any irate people where you're just like, okay, I'm ready to go. As soon as I get this dude out of here, I'm out. You can't wait.
No, I haven't had any bad experiences, but most of it is just respect, listening. I haven't had any customer where I said, man, I can't wait to leave, or I'm not gonna do your repair. I had one customer that wanted the service, but when I got there, they changed their mind. And when they found out that I had to drill a hole in a wall to get the fiber line into the house, they didn't want to upgrade. And I said, well, are you sure that you want everything how it is right now and you don't want to upgrade? And they're like, well, yeah. I said, okay, that's fine. So, so far, so good.
Okay.
I mean, you're in somebody's house. Be respectful and be mindful.
I just seen a position, and I'm just, I'm just opening it up just so the brothers and sisters that, you might have a brother or sister that might want to move to Minnesota or something. They got an account director, enterprise, is work from home, doing cold calling. They want like 5 years of sales and stuff like that. Salesforce experience, if possible, knowledge and understanding of the telecoms competitive landscape. I'm going to ask you another question, and then I'm going to ask a few more questions, and we'll wrap it up. Would you say that this is AI proof?
I mean, who you think gives us our jobs when we turn on the phone to figure out where we gotta go? That's not a person. That's AI. So
Can you?
AI is already implemented in our job now. As far as me, using AI to do my job,
can they replace you? Can they stick a robot out there to do your job?
What are they gonna hang a drop from across the street? Are they gonna? Is the helicopter going to fly in and mount a device on a wall? Like, no. People have to do that.
So this is AI proof. They're working on robots now, but no time soon whatsoever. They got to have somebody out there doing this, right?
I mean, if something's not authenticating, who's going to call in and watch the device while you're talking to customer service? There has to be a body there.
Okay, just like at a data center. So brothers and sisters, you heard it. Yeah, they talking about this AI thing and all that. There's certain stuff that the AI can't do. They got to have somebody out there. They got to have someone talking to customers and hooking up cables and things of that nature.
It's blue collar work. Who's gonna climb the pole and plug the line in the terminal and run the fiber line to the house? Who does that? Ain't no machine gonna do that.
So when you get to a site, when it comes to fiber optic, you sent me a few pictures. You pretty much know what to do once you get on the site.
Well, you already have an idea and know what to do when you get the job, because it's either going to be an install or it's going to be a repair, and hopefully there's some notes. Now, a repair can be a broken line, a device not working. They don't have an internet connection, and you got to figure out why.
Okay, and how do you feel about the last 3 weeks of your work?
50-50. It's been, you better ask questions if you don't know something. Otherwise, you're just gonna be kind of, moping around. I had other coworkers that say, "Well, I'm just gonna figure it out," and I said, "Well, all that time you're taking figuring out, I'm gonna be calling up somebody that's been there 20 years that probably already been through what I've been through, and he's gonna, try to cut my time down a little bit."
What is Site Tracker?
Site Tracker.
Because I'm looking at the Associate Field Engineer Academy. This is for a position in Duluth. It looks, there's 2 different positions that look like it's the same thing that you have. There's telecom technician entry level, and it's in Eden Prairie. And then in Duluth, Minnesota, there's Associate Field Engineer. Now, this is what the Associate Field Engineer position says you're going to do. Designing, installing, and maintaining fiber optic cable equipment in our data centers, using systems such as SAP, Microsoft Office, AutoCAD, MicroStation, managing budgets, ordering materials, processing invoices, working with networking optical hardware, amplifiers, transponders, routers, servers. I think this might have been the one that I applied for. It's $51,000 to $68,000. I think that's the one that I think that you're mainly in office. You're not outside a lot. You'll do a little driving around. But yours is probably the telecom entry level. Now, this is the role now tell me if this sounds familiar. This position is responsible for interacting with Lumen customers professionally and courteously, remotely or in person, to review and discuss service order requirements. Persons in this position will be expected to evaluate customer needs, suggesting alternative and additional services, installing, repairing, and testing residential or small business telecom broadband products. It's entry level with no experience required. Be willing to work outside. Looking for good customer service. Up to a $4,000 sign-on bonus with the following: $1,500 sign-on bonus, $1,250 bonus after 3 months, $1,250 bonus after 9 months. Wage increase will be reviewed 6 months from start date and 12 months from start date. So the responsibilities: install, maintain, repair, remove, rearrange, program, test, and troubleshoot residential and small business products and services. Set up, reconfigure, maintain, and troubleshoot customers' wireless and wired home network. Complete various splicing connections on fiber, wire, and connects wires and cables to terminals. Utilize power tools, hand tools, interpret customer service orders, repair tickets, technical drawings, maps, blueprints, diagrams. Able to work shifts and hours with possible mandatory overtime, weekends, and holidays. Driver's license. Able to climb and work on elevations. Work with ladders. Confined spaces. Lift 75 pounds. Able to perform activities in different weather conditions, extreme cold and heat. High school diploma. 0 to 2 years of experience. Compensation: a minimum of $22.39 an hour, maximum $33.58 an hour. Does that sound like your job?
I mean, that's it. You don't go in confined spaces, and you don't do nothing remote.
Okay.
There is no remote.
So
because you're going to different sites, so you're not going to be doing anything remote. and
Okay.
I have yet to go into some confined space. They just say that you're not going in you're not going hopping in there on no attic hooking something up because you could fall straight through the floor if you're not careful. So no, they're not. We're not doing that. That's a safety concern.
Okay. So, you
But
know,
everything else, yeah.
okay. So this associate field engineer position, you might want to start looking into that when it gets cold, like maybe a month or two before it gets cold, because you're gonna actually, if they have an opening, you might want to ask about that one because you'll probably have enough experience to where it says willingness to travel to different locations. You're not gonna have to work outside. I mean, you might go outside, but you're not gonna be installing nothing. You're gonna be designing. From what they told me, you're gonna be designing the cable systems and equipment, and building relationship with business partners, customers, vendors. I mean, you'll be able to do all this stuff, and all they wanted you to have is a high school diploma, strong analytic leadership and presentation skills, comfortable in working in an outside environment. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I got to do something else. This is for everybody that's listening. This is gonna be kind of part one of my, my little tech presentation tonight, because I want to do some analysis with some prior interviews that I did. So, if you apply for that other position at some point in time, maybe down the line, that associate field engineer position, let me know. We'll have you back on the program, man.
Will do.
All right.